Hello everyone and welcome to day 6 of my card series for this year. Today we're going to create this adorable card using the So Many Snowmen stamp set from Mama Elephant. So I had seen this idea. Nicole Sfor, I believe, is the one who had showed the idea using the die set for this. Now I don't have the die for this stamp set and I wanted to create the same card because she did such a fantastic job. So I want to thank her for sharing her idea with us all. And at first I thought, well, maybe I could just use my mask that I had created from using this stamp set before, but it wasn't quite long enough. So I ended up just taking the stamp out of the packet and I put it against my cardstock. And I'm going to use a pencil and just trace around the outside edge of the stamp so I have a line that I could cut along. And I'm going to be using some of my X-Acto knives, and I'll have the exact brand for you guys in the description below, so that I could create a similar look that she had done, but without having the dies I could do the same thing. So this is a good option for those of you who who don't have the dies, who don't want to spend the money on the dies. You can still create the same looks. So again, I have my stamp lined up where I want to place it, and we're just going to outline around the edge here. This card took me a little while to get done, but I was really pleased with the outcome, and I definitely have some more ideas using the same technique. So it's kind of hard to see here on the camera here, but in real life the line is very easy to see. So again, I'm just taking my X-Acto knife and I'm going to go right along that edge, and I'm just going to cut out along that line so I have an exact outline of the stamp that I want to use. Again, this technique can be used with so many different kinds of stamps. I really like this idea, so again, I want to thank Nicole Sfor for sharing that with us all. So I can't take credit for the idea, but I definitely want to give her the credit for that. There we go, got that cut out the way I want. Just a couple pieces here I wanted to trim out, make it look a little bit better. And there we have it. Turned out great. I was really pleased with how well that had worked. I had the idea in my head to do it this way since I didn't have the die, and it turned out just great. So next, I had a couple of boo-boos. So the ending result here of this panel is going to be a little different than what I started with, but in the end, the idea still worked out great. So I decided I wanted to take my Distress ink cubes here. I've got black soot, blueprint sketch, and chipped sapphire, and I'm using Bristol paper here because it's really good for ink blending. And I'm just going to ink blend a night sky, going lightest to darkest, and I want it to fade to white near the bottom so I have room for a greeting if I wanted to write one. Once I get that all blended, it took me a little bit to get it exactly the way I wanted, but in the end I think it turned out really good. And then after I get all this blended, I'm going to take I have just some plain white acrylic paint that I'm going to use to splatter my background to add some stars or snow, whichever you want to use. Me, I'm thinking it's snow more than stars. And I did spritz my paper with some water as well. Again, there's that white acrylic paint. And it works pretty good. I plan on getting maybe like a Copic opaque white, or maybe some white gouache a little bit later, but this works fine for now. So once that was all dry, I wanted to get my snowman stamped, and this is where I had a couple of boo-boos. I did it quite a few times. I kept getting really frustrated at myself, but I stuck with it. I didn't give up. I just rethought the idea, and it ended up working out just fine. So I got myself calmed down, and I could continue on with this card. So again, there I had to cut the panel away from that first piece, and it fit in here just fine. And I'm just going to trim off that extra on the side there where the fold is. And now we're going to get into the coloring of these snowmen. So as soon as they're all colored in and we're ready to go, we'll finish up this card together. So that will finish up the coloring portion of this video. I'm taking my black glaze pen and I'm adding detail to their little eyes here. And next I'm going to take my Aqua Shimmer pen and I'm going to add some sparkle to their little accessories here. And the shimmer pen is pretty new, so I got a ton of shimmer, which I was totally okay with because these little snowmen deserve it. They are super sweet and I just love them. Next, I'm going to take my background panel here, and I'm using the Comfort and Joy stamp set from Fawn, and I'm taking out a sentiment, Let It Snow, as well as Happiest of Holidays to You and Yours, or Merriest Christmas, excuse me. And I'm going to stamp them using my VersaFine ink to do some heat embossing using Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder. prepping my space with my anti-static powder tool. I apologize if my head gets in the way. I just wanted to get this lined up nice and straight. Once I get that lined up, we'll get to stamping. Again, Versamark ink. This ink pad will get a lot of love this season. I really like heat embossing. I like embossing lots of things. I think it's just the fun of embossing, you know, the change of the powder and everything like that. It's a lot of fun. Now once I get that all heat embossed and warmed up, I almost forgot to put my powder away again. And then once I got this all heated up and melted and looking good, I decided I wanted to take, I have the embossing pen from Fawn, and I wanted to add a bit more snow flakes that make them a little more intense. Because the ones that are there, they almost look like they're off in the distance, so I wanted to add a few more. So I'm just taking that embossing pen and I'm just dotting here and there where I think that some snowflakes would look good. And this actually turned out really well because they have a very organic shape. It's not a perfect circle, which I really, really like that. It makes it look a little more natural. So I might end up using this technique quite a bit. I really enjoyed how it turned out. And it just filled up that space perfectly. It really made it brighten up. And if I had some stray pieces of embossing powder here and there, I just decided they became snowflakes, so I wasn't too concerned about it. It really added to it. Get those all warmed up, and again, it turned out just great. Once that's all warmed up, we'll get this all put together. I'm going to brush off that stray anti-static powder. And then since I did Copic coloring, it bled through on the other side. So what I did was I just took and I cut out an extra piece to go on the inside just to cover up that ink. And then I think I'm going to have to switch glues here soon. I've used this one up quite a bit and it's starting to run out on me. I guess it shows you how much I really like it. I think it's a really good liquid glue. And it didn't quite cover all the way across that panel, but I wasn't too worried about it. Whomever I'd send this to, they're not going to notice things like that. They're just going to be pleased to get a card. So my grandmother overseas, she always keeps every card that I've sent to her. She keeps them displayed in her house. So it's a lot of fun to know that they are being kept. So I get that all placed in there, and then I'm just going to take my scissors, and I apologize that I'm off screen here, and I'm just trimming away that little sliver of white that showed up along the edge. And I wanted to just blend that in a little bit more, make sure I got it all coated and covered up. Finally here I'm going to take some glossy accents, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to a couple of the accessories, a little snowman with the glasses, and then to their noses I'm just going to add just a little bit of glossy accents to those. I really liked how that turns out. Gives them just a little bit of character. I mean, these snowmen are full of characters. I mean, they're piled up, wearing accessories and hanging out in the snow. So, again, just a little something else to add some dimension to the front of the card. And that will finish up this card for today. I want to thank you guys so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. I can't wait for the next day. We'll see you guys again on Friday. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. And I'll be seeing you. Bye.